We have to get inside now! Hurry! To the cellar!
You know, the thing about moving back to Oklahoma after 2 decades in the military is that the sky is always the boss, and tornadoes, they aren't a matter of if, but when. I learned that the hardest way possible. I was stationed overseas when the F5 hit, helpless, screaming into a dead phone while the wind took my wife, Anna, and our unborn son. By the time I made it back, all that was left was rubble, and a silence that felt like it was glued to your very bones. 6 years later, I chose this little HOA neighborhood, Pine Hollow, because it looked quiet, predictable. The houses were all tidy, the lawns all the same length. I thought I needed that uniformity, rules, a world that couldn't suddenly fold in on itself. I bought the corner lot because it had the space, the chance to finally build what I couldn't build in time, last time. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing, not at first. I just started digging. I pulled the permit from the county, full concrete, reinforced shelter, 3 feet underground, insulated steel door, ventilation, everything by the book. But I knew they would find a reason to stall, they being the HOA, and specifically Karen Wells. I knew her name before I met her. HOA president, self-appointed protector of property values, and if the rumors were true, someone who measured the decibel level of a sneeze. She showed up on day 2 of digging, in her pristine tennis whites, holding a clipboard and a smirk. "What's going on here?" she chirped, stepping gingerly over the fresh dirt. "You digging a bomb shelter or something?" "Tornado shelter," I said flatly, elbow deep in sweat and rebar. She didn't miss a beat. "You're disturbing the community aesthetic. The bylaws prohibit unsightly structures visible from the street. It's underground," I sighed, wiping sweat from my brow. "It won't be visible once I finish. I already got city approval." "County, too?" She blinked a half-second of shock, quickly recovered. "Yes, well, we're not the county, Mr. Grady. The HOA has final say on aesthetic cohesion." Her lip curled slightly. "I'm not building a fountain," I told her, trying to keep my voice level. "I'm building something that might save a few lives." She just looked at me, completely uninterested in safety, only in control. The fines started immediately, $50 a day, quickly escalating to hundreds. I kept building. I don't raise my voice. I coach youth baseball, but I'd faced real chaos, and I'd be damned if I let someone stop me from being ready this time. Every afternoon, Karen would drive by in her Mercedes SUV, snapping photos like I was staging a reality show. I finished the shelter in 3 weeks. Ugly, maybe, but solid. And safe. The very next day, the final summons arrived. Mandatory compliance hearing. Emergency meeting to address my shelter. She came up my front path, that wide, practiced smile never reaching her eyes. "You've been warned," she said, holding up the letter detailing the $750 fine. "If the shelter isn't removed, we will begin lien procedures. Do what you have to," I said, fists tightening. "But I'm not tearing down something that could save lives." "You're not being penalized for protecting yourself," she insisted, brushing imaginary lint from her blouse. "You're being penalized for disregarding the HOA process. That kind of behavior invites chaos." "What invites chaos?" I retorted, letting the deep, weary anger surface. "Is pretending danger doesn't exist because it messes with your aesthetic." She turned and walked away, satisfied, but that moment planted something deeper in me, a deep, profound weariness of fighting small-minded wars. I almost skipped the meeting, but my army buddy, Marshall, convinced me. "Let them try to make you the villain to your face." I walked into that clubhouse. It was packed. Karen was at the center table, flanked by her polite, blank-faced board members. She started in on visual disruption and community values. I stood and walked to the front, placing my documents on the table. "I've heard a lot about rules tonight," I said, projecting my voice, "but not a word about responsibility. Not once have I heard this board say, 'We're grateful someone took initiative to protect lives.' Why is that?" The room went silent when the last tornado hit. I continued. I was in a different city, holding my wife's photograph, wondering if I'd ever stop hating myself for not being able to protect her. I looked directly at Karen. "You're asking people to prioritize uniformity over survival. And if another storm comes, I will not be standing in the rubble again, wishing I had done more. A neighbor, Mrs. Ramirez, stood up. My grandson lives here now. I'd rather look at 100 shelters than bury another child. Then Todd, I'd trust his structure over the community center any day. Karen tried to regain control, face flushed. This is not about me. No, I snapped. It's about control. And the fact that you can't stand someone doing something that you didn't authorize. Laughter broke out, scattered, nervous, but real. Karen cut the mic and closed the meeting, but not before issuing a final threat of an emergency injunction to have the shelter removed. It wasn't about the structure anymore. It was about power. The air outside grew heavy. The forecast shifted. The sky was too quiet. I knew the storm wasn't just wind. It was reckoning. The barometric pressure had dipped. Every pause in the bird song was a warning. I sat in the shelter, checking the generator, thinking about Anna, realizing silence this time might cost someone else everything. I couldn't just keep my head down. I went public, not through the HOA, but with a handwritten letter to every home. I lost my wife and unborn son to a tornado in 2011. This shelter isn't about fear. It's about love. If a storm comes, my door is open to you. That night, my doorbell rang nonstop. Neighbors came with banana bread, flashlights, water bottles, each asking, "Can I come in when it happens?" I said yes, every single one. But Karen pushed harder. She went to the community Facebook group, warning that my shelter would collapse under pressure. That was her final mistake. I went to the city council, wearing my uniform jacket for the first time in 5 years, and spoke as a veteran and a certified emergency specialist. I told them about Anna. The city council voted instantly, reaffirming the legality of my shelter. They encouraged neighborhood readiness. Karen's campaign had failed. Then, at 4:47 p.m., the NOAA weather radio chirped 3 times and began to wail. Tornado warning issued for Grady County. Take shelter immediately. The sky turned that sickly shade of green. The wind started swirling, low and metallic. I drove straight to the clubhouse, and there she was, Karen, laughing under a striped tent with folding tables trembling, still pouring wine, refusing to believe. "You need to get people inside," I yelled. The wind already roaring. Rotation spotted 15 miles out. "The weather app says light thunderstorms," she sneered, trying to keep control. "You're scaring people with your paranoia. Bzzzzz. The tornado warning screamed from 100 phones. The wind hit a roar like a freight train. Tables flew. I didn't waste another second on Karen. "Everyone follow me," I screamed, motioning toward my truck. "I've got a reinforced shelter a mile from here. It's open now." People ran, scrambling into SUVs. Panic was the engine. Safety was the destination. We pulled into my driveway just as the sky went black. I threw open the hatch and started counting heads. Children crying, dogs barking. Todd came last, helping an older man. I pulled them both in and slammed the hatch shut just as the wind howled above us. 30 dashed to people. Not a single injury. Then, over the rumble of the storm, we heard it. A scream. A sharp, bone-deep scream that cut through the wind. It lasted 8 minutes. When the air cleared, I opened the hatch. The neighborhood looked like a war zone. My fence gone, trees snapped, roof stripped. And 50 yards down the road, Karen's white Mercedes SUV, crumpled like a soda can, perched upside down on a crushed mailbox. She wasn't inside. I found Karen across the street, clinging to the iron base of a bird feeder, soaked, torn, shaking from the aftershock. I knelt beside her. "Karen, it's me. You're safe now." We brought her inside the shelter. The others offered her a blanket, water. She sat silently, trembling. "I mocked you," she whispered, her eyes finally meeting mine, stripped of all superiority. "I told people you were paranoid. I saw it take my car. Just lift it like it weighed nothing. It doesn't discriminate," I said, my voice quiet. "It doesn't care about HOA letters or fines or bylaws. I'm so sorry," she said, tears filling her eyes. It wasn't an apology. It was surrender. The next day, the fire chief confirmed it. This shelter saved more lives last night than the entire town's designated safety buildings combined. Karen resigned, formally admitting her failure. She moved away quietly, but not before standing next to me for a local news interview. Thomas Grady saved our lives, she said. The city council unanimously passed the new ordinance, officially naming it the Grady Standard, protecting the rights of homeowners to construct personal safety shelters. I closed the hatch that night, not in secrecy, but in peace. The door no longer represented fear or guilt. It represented readiness, redemption, and resilience. I had finally finished building what I wished I'd had years ago. Not just a shelter for the storm, but a symbol for the community, a promise that from now on, we choose survival over uniformity. Now, here's the question. Karen Wells tried to have Thomas Grady arrested and fined out of existence. When she was vulnerable and defeated, he saved her life and offered her dignity. Was Thomas right to offer forgiveness and safety to the very person who tried to destroy him? Or should he have focused only on those who had supported him? Let me know in the comments below.